What up guys, it is Justice here and welcome back to RuneScape. In today's video I'm going to be covering off newfound information regarding Telos, the new solo boss. Telos is a Nightborn from the Anima Mundi who guards and protects the heart of Gilnor. And the boss is planned for release this upcoming week on the 27th of June. And I cannot wait for this long asked for content to be released into the game. A new solo boss. Has been a couple of years since we've had a boss that's going to be pushing the limits of the game. Of what the actual mechanics of the game can do with regards to the abilities you're going to use and the different mechanics within the boss fight, along with pushing the limits of what players can actually do in the game as well, with all of the resources that they have available to them. So let's get straight into this. We have found out more pre-release info via the dev Q&A and also a BTS video. It has been confirmed that the new weapons will be tier 92. There was a lot of debate amongst the combat council internally within Jagex whether to go for tier 92 or to push even further and go for tier 95, but they ended up agreeing with each other that tier 92 is the right decision for the current state of the game. So yeah, the weapons will be tier 92. There's going to be 3 of them, 3 different two-hander weapons. The first one I'm going to cover is the Seren Godbow. This is arrowless, and it has a special attack. So that's one thing to mention. Each of these new weapons will have a special attack. The Seren Godbow will have a special attack called Crystal Rain, which works like bombardment, and the damage is based on where it lands, and it's also scaled to how large the NPC is. This is really interesting. So if an NPC is 5x5, for example, let's say an NPC is huge like Virago, it will deal more damage against a target like Virago. It hits more times. It's not a shield bow. The amount of speculation that went across the community saying, oh, it's going to be a shield bow, it's going to be a shield bow, guys, because you put your arm through it, it's going to be a shield bow. No, it's not. Like, I swear, I would have quit the game if it was a tier 90 shield bow. There is no reason to get hyped around something like that. So thank God that wasn't the case. And instead, it's just a tier 92 version of the Nox longbow, let's say. So it deals more damage, it has more accuracy, and it does surpass the Nox longbow in pretty much every single way, except for the distance. The Nox longbow will still have, I think, 1 square on it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Personally, I don't use range much in the game right now, so I will not be focusing on getting the Seren Godbow first. But moving on to the Zaros Godsword. Now, this is a weapon that Jagex have wanted to release in a very, very long time. They were actually thinking of releasing this with God Wars Dungeon 2, but instead did not. And also, another thing that I thought was going to be coming out with this update was the offhand weapon to the Hellweir Wand. I forgot what the exact name of it's called. What's it called? That's irrelevant. But it's the Hellweir Wand anyway. I can't pronounce it because it's Welsh. When that was released, it didn't come with an offhand version, and I thought that was going to be released with this content, but no, it's not. Instead, it's going to be a staff. But first off, the Zaros Godsword. To go into this with a bit more depth, again, tier 92, the spec is called Black Hole, and people are saying, they even said on the stream that it's like a melee equivalent to Sunshine, but don't get your hopes up at all with regards to the damage output that it's going to deal, because what wasn't confirmed on the stream, but instead was confirmed by Mod Days on Twitter, is that it will only take up 50% of your adrenaline when using these specs, so it will not be a 100% ultimate ability equivalent. But it will be interesting to use in between using Zerk, so it won't have as much damage boost as Zerk. So you're going to want to prioritize Zerk if you want to go through a full DPS rotation, but you might want to use this creatively in between your Zerk rotations. So I'm really excited to see this Godsword, and it probably looks the best out of all 3 of them. And again, you cannot move outside of that black hole when you cast the ability, when you cast the special, and therefore you're going to want to use it strategically, like when you use the Sunshine, hence why people are saying it's a melee equivalent. Moving on to the Staff of Sliske. They didn't go into too much depth with this, but the special for this one is called From the Shadows, and you'll actually spawn a 3rd familiar. I really don't know much about this though, whether it's going to be attacking or what. It's probably going to be an attacking familiar, and then what bosses it'll actually work on, I'm not sure, but it's bound to work on Telos itself, because Telos is not immune to reflective damage and things like that, and thus probably won't be immune to this new familiar that spawns with the staff. But this is all speculation. Pretty interesting concept though. How powerful it's going to be, not quite sure yet. But that will be pretty cool when you're soloing a fight. You've got your own familiar there, maybe it's a Yak or a Nihil for the accuracy, and then you're going to have that 3rd familiar out as well, supporting you and fighting alongside you. It's a pretty cool concept. And then imagine that with mounts as well. God, it's crazy. It's crazy. 2017. Mounts. So each of these 3 weapons will be augmentable on release, and they will degrade like existing tier 90 weapons. They are made out of several different pieces and follow a similar pattern to the Reprisal drop, so they'll drop several different pieces to make up, let's say, the main part of the weapon. And these pieces will be untradeable, but also Telos will drop a style specific piece that you can trade straight away. So you don't have to go and buy, let's say, a full leg piece or the full staff part and then wait for a style specific drop to attach it to it and then sell it. You don't need to go through that annoying process. You can just sell the style specific pieces whenever you get that as a drop. So I like that they've changed that aspect, and it's going to be really cool to make some bank from these pieces, and it's going to really motivate you to go for the other pieces. Whether there will be different items dropped at different stages throughout the fight, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Also, there will be no major rotational differences. So, like, for example, with the Reprisal right now, every few days you get a different rotation. They're moving away from that. They've said that they don't like that process anymore because they can see from the stats how many people just don't do a Reprisal, for example, when it's paths 1 and 3, I think. And same with Virago, whenever it's a certain rotation of Virago, let's say Vitalis or the ones which are disliked by the majority of the community, like Purple Bomb. People just don't seem to like Purple Bomb rotation. I mean, people are doing it more now because you can duo and trio it more effectively due to Phase 5, but people just don't like how long it takes in Phase 3 for some reason, and therefore don't do the rotation. But, you know, everyone has their personal preferences, but Jax can see the stats behind it, and they just don't like how that's dissuading people to do their boss fights. I think, you know, it can be annoying, but also it does promote variety in the game. When it's a certain rotation of Reprisal and no one really wants to do it, they'll go and do Virago and vice versa. And, you know, it does promote variety in the game. But there's always 2 views to different arguments, but statistics just don't lie, and they want people to play the game and the content as much as possible whenever the players feel like it. So yeah, going off on a tangent there, but back to the actual weapons themselves. These rewards seem to have kept the Nox Scythe and Size 1 quite relevant, because the ZGS is not a halberd, so you won't get the distance you get with a scythe, and thus you're going to still want to use the scythe in situations like Araxor, so you only get hit by 1 attack style, and the AoE damage will be further for Slayer and the Abyss and various different other places. So overall, the scythe is definitely worth keeping, even if you have a ZGS, aka the Zaros Godsword. And also the Seismic Wand will be quite relevant because you still want the most damage output you can deal while shield camping. The Nox Longbow doesn't really have much over the Seren God Bow, except for that you can still use Dragon Banes with the Nox Longbow, and I don't think you're going to be able to use Dragon Banes with the Seren God Bow because that's arrowless. When looking at the raw stats, the tier 92 weapons will have 3 to 5% more DPS overall compared to the tier 90 weapons, and that variance is dependent on what gear you're wearing. And that's not even comparing the specs. I mean, there's no point even looking at the Nox specs, but these new specs that are going to be with the tier 92 weapons, they look interesting. They look like they're going to have a lot more use within the game, and it'll be really cool to see what the community managed to create with these new specials. But let's move on to the new ability, the Reprisal ability. It requires level 85 Constitution. It takes 6 seconds of damage, and then you fire that damage back at the target. A maximum of 10k damage is reflected back, and thus it will work quite well at Telos potentially. Now you have to be able to absorb all of that damage without dying in the process across those 6 seconds. And it might be like Onslaught as well, where if you drink a pot or eat food, then it may cancel it. But I'm unsure on this yet. Either way, 6 seconds is quite a lot of time when it comes to DPS output from existing abilities. So we'll have to wait and see where it's best to use this type of ability. For example, whilst base tanking at Virago and Reflect, timing it perfectly so then when the link is off you, you can then deal that damage back to Virago, because you can't DPS at that point anyway. And we may see some similar mechanics at Telos, and it would be cool to see this ability playing a key part within the new boss fight as you get to later Enrages and unlock new mechanics. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course there will be a new pet drop for all those insane final bosses out there, and personally I think this pet looks really cool and I wouldn't mind getting it myself. It's claimed to be consistent money making. The drop rates go up with Enrage. Your reward will improve with several kills in a row, and so you either choose to cash out early or continue, risking your existing loot in the process to obtain a stack of higher value drops along with an increased chance of weapon pieces. So if you go on a streak of 5 kills in a row and don't cash it in and then die, you will lose everything. And this is something that I'm gonna love doing and risking and just having fun with. And you can just see other people, like, you're really rooting for that person not to die, or the other way around, and just rooting for that person to die to see their reaction of when they lose all of those drops. It's almost like staking, but you have a much more higher influence in that fight due to either calculating your skill level, knowing that you're going to be able to achieve the next kill, or getting to your limit and just pushing yourself that little bit further to see if you can actually cash out at a later level. The highest Enrage for this boss fight will be 4,000%. 800 has been done internally in terms of the maximum Enrage that someone's got to internally. That's probably a QA tester, I'm assuming. So yeah, after speaking to a few mates, we seem to think that when you reset it, it'll go to 0, but you can start then from a certain checkpoint, like 100% or 200%, for example. So as you get to a certain Enrage, that will be unlocked as a checkpoint forever, I assume. But we're unsure in terms of the strategy to take to have the best chance of loot, if that makes sense, to get the most money essentially every hour. So it might be worth either chaining kills up from 0% or start at a higher Enrage. But it's going to be really cool. And also, when you get a kill and you stack up a kill streak, you can log off. Once you've completed the kill, you can log off and it will maintain that kill streak as well, which is also a really good attribute of the fight. But if you do disconnect whilst in the kill, I'm pretty certain it's been confirmed by JMods that that will count as a death and your kill streak will be lost. And something really important that I don't think I've mentioned yet in the video, you will not be able to walk Telos. This is something that they managed to counter pretty much in God Wars Dungeon 2, and it's something they don't really want to be seeing in their game moving forward, and therefore you will not be able to walk Telos to either skip special. And supposedly, the boss itself is not immune to reflective damage. When questioned on the spot in the dev Q&A, mod Ollie stated he reckons the max Enrage anyone will reach day 1 will be roughly 400. 400%. But that's going to be seriously tough, and I personally won't be anywhere near that. I mean, that's going to be a lot of kills in a row within the first day. And it gets more and more difficult each kill like Araxor, but different from Araxor, as you get to later Enrages and later stages down the fight, you will unlock even more mechanics that you've got to learn on day 1 or within the first week. So yeah, you're going to have to learn all of those, and what I will say is that I'm super hyped for this new content. It's about time we've had a new boss pushing the limits of what the game can do and what players can do. Along with the release of the now new highest damage dealing weapons in the game, it really is just going to be a brilliant update, and it'll be great to see what kill streaks the community can smash out within the first week, as the risk reward system just sounds brilliant. Talking about the Enrage system, you will be able to reset the Enrage whenever you want to. It's not going to be like a daily reset, like a Araxor, for example. You'll be able to reset whenever you want to, aka cash out whenever you want to. Not quite sure how this is going to be working, but it's going to be on a checkpoint system. We'll just have to wait and see on the release, because I don't think they confirmed anything in the dev Q&A with regards to how it's going to reset its Enrage, whether you go down in segments when you reset or whether it just goes back to 0%. We'll have to wait until day 1 how this works, but there will be some sort of strategy that you'll build up, and a preference of the strategy that you will take to this boss fight. There will be 4 stages to the fight, I think, from what we know, and it's best fought in NXT due to the skybox. And with regards to special attacks and things like that, which Telos releases, I'll create some videos within the first week, but most of all, I'll be streaming it and having fun delving into this new content within the first 3 days of release, as I've taken some time off work so I can really nerd it out and just delve into this new content on release, as we only get updates like this once every 2 years. According to the 2017 survey though, if voted for, we will see another new solo boss develop next year. And I hope again, like this boss, it will attempt in pushing the limits of the game even further, as it's always fun to try out new content, and the way this has been developed, it sounds like it will cater for even people who are just getting into high-level PvM, as at lower Enrages, it will be doable with tier 80 gear. They can then watch, or those people who are going in and just doing 1 kill at a time or so and then having to reset, they can then watch others who are getting to later enrages. So they upgrade their armor from existing bosses in the game. They can then take on Telos at higher enrages, and it really will be a boss that will be personalized to both your playstyle and your skill level. One day you might just want to log in and just get a few casual low enrage kills, and another day you might want to try hard and learn new methods to achieve kill streaks and have an increased chance at higher valued rewards. Either way, I cannot wait until this boss fight, and in order to prepare for this, so you can just delve straight into the content, it's advised to go and obtain your ancient key. You have a guaranteed 100% drop chance of getting a key piece from each God Wars Dungeon 2 monster once you kill it. So just go and kill each of the monsters once and you will obtain that key ready for Monday. So yeah, there you go. Newfound information for Telos. I cannot wait for this release. Let me know how hyped up you guys are in the comments section, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hopefully another one before Telos is released. If not, I'll see you guys on stream next week, and with plenty of Telos videos to come being uploaded onto the channel. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you in the next one.